Okay, so today we're going to talk about MVP and user testing. And before we dive into what an MVP is, let's kind of like look at the big picture. So last time we talked about, uh, you know, validating whether there's a need or not, whether there's a problem or not, right? And then the first workshop, we also talked about like coming up with ideas based on whether there's a problem or not, right? So there are three main things that we targeted: problem, unique value proposition, and also the customer segment, right? And this time we are going to focus on building the product, building a solution. And it's there's a very unique way, a very fast way to validate whether your solution is actually solving a problem. And it's called MVP. Yep. So this is how we're connecting from the previous workshop, validating the needs and assumption to validating the assumptions for your solution with MVP. So what is an MVP? MVP stands for minimum viable product. And it's really simple. It basically means it's the simplest thing, the first thing that you can give it to your target customer, your target users, and check whether your solution is actually bringing any value to them, whether your solution is actually solving the problem or not, right? The simplest thing that you can build to your target customer. And so this is um, uh, kind of like confusing, right? Maybe we can like figure out what is an MVP and what is not MVP. So think about MVP as like a quick experiment, right? It should be part of the development process, right? Like it's not the final product. It's more like a quick experiment that you can test on with your target users right away to test whether your idea is actually solving a problem or not, right? And only focus on answering one or two key assumptions. So you're not answering all of the questions all at once. And you should be able to build this within a few weeks or maybe a month or two. And what is not an MVP is like exactly like it's not a final product. You're not supposed to build this MVP and then launch it as like the final product. Like that's like what you want it to look like at the end. Um, this should be more like, all right, I want to test out an assumption, so I'll build this product to test out my assumptions and only a few assumptions, not answering all the assumptions at once. Yeah, and then so it's not a final result. And if we put it on in a graph, right? MVP is more like, all right, I start building this stuff, right? Maturity of your idea is time. You start building your idea, and then you test your assumption. All right, maybe your assumption was like, not correct, right? And then you just go back and then build and test another assumption and go back. And then if your assumption was like actually reflecting the reality, then you still start figuring out that, okay, actually people care about your product. People care about your solution, right? And people often would think that, oh, MVP, it's a product, minimum viable product, right? I'll just like build, and launch, and I'm done with my product. No, that's not the case. It should be more like an experimental stuff that you'll be constantly doing throughout the way. Yeah, it's a process, part of the process, not a product. Okay, so why is MVP important? So last time we figured that, okay, the market research answers some questions, and MVP can answer. Here are some three key questions as well. First of all, is this solution even needed at all? Because like even after market research, you still can't really dive deep into all right, whether the problem is really validate whether the problem is um, uh, that important or that huge that people will pay for it, right? So the second thing is like assumption on your solution, right? Is this solution actually solving the problem? Will people actually pay for it? And the third thing is like this will keep your momentum going on, right? If you're just talking to users and you're not building anything, you're not actually testing out, you don't have a first set of user using your product, you will feel like, oh, I just like keep on talking, right? And your growth of your team, your startup is just going to like stale, So that's why it's important to launch your MVP quickly and get the first set of users. When people are start using your product, you have more pressure, and then you will be learning a lot more from the customers as well, right? And then, all right, let's do a really quick case study activity. So, do you guys all know Dropbox? All right, raise up hand. Who knows Dropbox? Um, all right, yeah, a few of you guys. Hopefully, our Dropbox, if you don't know what it is, it's kind of like Google Drive, right? But like it existed before, Google Drive was even created. Yeah. And so it's basically for you to share files with other people, right? And let's do a quick activity. We're going to do a breakout rooms really quickly, 3 minutes. Think about what is the riskiest assumptions and what MVP would they build, right? Should they build? Riskiest like assumptions could be something like, um, all right, do people even want to share the file online, or do people even want to like collaborate online or stuff like that, right? Yeah. So this sound like a few key assumptions, and then think about, all right, what kind of MVP would you build? The earliest, the simplest thing to test out these key assumptions. Yeah. All right. Pierre, could you like open breakout room?
Yep, just did.
Awesome. Let's resume record. Awesome. Okay.
I got a few people.
Oh wait, I'm not muted.
All right. People are coming back. All right, we still have one more group, right? Or two more groups. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to do that thing where like the breakout room closes at 10 seconds instead of 1 minute. I remember that we did that workshop 1 or 2. I forgot which one was it. I think it was 1.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Pierre, you could change the closing
setting.
Let me do that.
For 60 seconds.
Otherwise, people just stall.
Staying there. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Oh, okay. Why not start with the first group who just came back? I think Davi, your group came back first, right? Not sure.
Sure. Yeah. Uh, I think that the riskiest like assumption that we said, like the question was like, do people trust like the cloud, the internet, more than like to keep their files more than like a flash drive or something physical, both in terms of like security for privacy and security for like keeping the files. And the assumption, like the biggest assumption, is that is the case, right? I think that I think at least at the time that Dropbox was doing their thing, that was it. And then for the MVP, like I think the two main features that we like assumed that was necessary to create, like to hand it over to like a customer to try it out at first, was being able to store your files at the cloud. And the second one, which is like still even debatable, it's like sharing with other people, right? Which I think if it has those two things, then it's like plausible, like an MVP. It already gets the effect of like what the thing is, you know.
Okay, so sounds like you're trying to build kind of like the MVP for kind of like the file sharing, like online file sharing, like kind of like
right. Yeah, I mean that's the first step, right? Then you can do the whole like organization, like folder and other things that Dropbox currently has that Google Drive has.
Okay.
And then like, but that's like way further ahead, right? That's the point of the MVP, just the main feature. Right? At least that's what I got from it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, cool.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. From a technology standpoint, you can do this kind of MVP. Okay, how about the next team? Who's the next team? Peter, could you look at the?
Oh yeah. Aditya.
So for ours, we thought of the same thing as Davi. We had whether people would be safe about putting their files online. The second one that we had was just making the assumption that our consumer base is just fully businesses, just businesses by itself. And then what we thought of for the MVP was that it would be an app that is a lot complicated. Oh, I mean, it's other way around. My bad. A lot simple for business to use, and it focuses just on businesses and has tools that can help businesses keep track of their employees and whatever files their employees has to upload onto Dropbox. Yeah.
Like focusing on the businesses where it's like
Yeah.
the initial target market, and then so building a similar MVP like what Davi mentioned, right? Like
Yeah.
a simple like file sharing platform. Okay, that's
Yep.
good. Okay, how about the next group?
Marjorie.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Go
okay, you
ahead.
could go. No, you could go.
All right. So yeah, we both didn't know what Dropbox is, but we did a quick Google search, and yeah, like you said, it's like similar to Google Drive. So I guess like for us, just from what we could tell, a big assumption is that number one, people needed extra storage, and number two, like yeah, like everyone said, like they trust it. And I guess I saw that Dropbox, like the basic version, has like 175 like file formats or something you can use. And I guess for like an MVP, we thought that at first it could like target like a specific base of audience or people that use like specific file formats maybe instead of like multiple. So that's pretty much what we got.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Like not focusing, figuring out like the initial targeted market that need it, and then just build that product just for them, right? Not like the entire market. Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, how about the next group?
Sam.
Yeah, I think that's our group, right?
Yeah.
So I think the problems we discussed are pretty similar to the problems that everyone has brought up about the comparison of Dropbox to like existing means of sort of storing your files and data and stuff. So like being pen drives and stuff like that. So I guess one of the problems that you would have to keep in mind is that like just like any software, you can sort of tap into it. So there is a security problem in most cases where uh, you could sort of like you could sort of hack into the software or something like that, or those files could be accessed by other people, accidentally or something like that. But I guess with a pen drive, it's a little less likely that something like that happens because like you're carrying your pen drive around. So unless you lose it or something, you won't really have to worry so much about the security aspect. So yeah, I guess it's the security aspect that's and whether it's really necessary in the market.
Okay, so like for like security aspect and like focusing on building the security really strong, and then make sure that like the first step users are using it, right? Okay, yeah, and actually the answer might be very different from what you guys think. So their assumptions was like, do people even want to use a service like this to collaborate on documents at all? Back in the days, like there wasn't even like any cloud sharing at all. There was no like cloud drive and anything like that. So what they did was they just created a 3-minute animated video explaining how this service works. A 3-minute video, how it works. And so we talked about MVP are validating 3 different kind of like different kind of answers, right? Will people pay for it? Was this like just solve the problem? And if there's like a key need as well, right? The need at all, right? And then so this is how they do it. They post this video online, and then this got tons of developers just signing up for their emailing list to be their beta tester. And then since it was so popular that they started pouring more and more money and the resources into actually making this product come true. So before they even build anything, they just create a video to do this. And then another good example is, for example, Airbnb. This might be easier for you guys to think about. All right, what would they do to do as their first MVP? So think about, all right, what kind of assumptions do they have? Should they answer first, right? And then think about what kind of MVP they have to build. It doesn't necessarily have to be the final product, right? It just has to answer some key assumptions that that's important. Yeah. So how about we do another like 3-minute discussion? Now that you guys figure out that actually MVP is not necessarily just building a product. So let's try it out, break our room.
Right.
Start with the first group again, the V's group.
Yeah, I guess I'll say again, unless someone else wants to say. Maybe no. Okay. Um, so right, the riskiest assumption that we like propose is that would people be willing to stay at strangers' house or slash let strangers into their home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is yes, like of course the answer to that would be yes. Now we know because they're successful. But and then the MVP that we propose would be something like first it has to start like somewhat locally, right? So it's easier to manage and to like somewhat test. So I don't know, maybe a specific city or a specific region. And then the other thing that we discussed is like what kind of platform would have to be there. So if it's like a website or anything, like I don't know. I don't know how it could have started. The website seems like the easiest solution, but like at these days, you could also start as an app or something like that. So it needs to have like some kind of platform to get people in contact with like the people that they're staying at the house slash like the other way around, you know. So yeah, those are the main two things that we thought about.
That's great. So like the key focusing on a smaller area and then a very simple platform like a website or something.
Yeah.
And the assumption is it's people even stay at strangers' house, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. Awesome. All right. How about the next group?
So we had the same assumptions as Davi, but then we also had another one, which was will Airbnb outperform hotels? And then that was our assumption. And then for the MVP for that one, we said that we were gonna have like Airbnbs near popular spots, so like at beaches, instead of we would ask people whether they're able to lend out their vacation homes, something like that, and see if it outperforms how many people stay at vacation homes compared to at hotels.
That's great. You're also thinking about the target customers, like the people who need the most, right? Like
right, yeah.
Those locations need has a lot of traffic, and so have some kind of platform like that. Okay. So what kind of platform were you thinking about? Like how would you like test this? Right?
So it would be similar to what Davi said again, with an app or with a website like they're already doing. And then it would be just based in vacation parts. It would be like middle of the woods somewhere, like a camp spots and beaches, stuff like places like that.
Starting with those small those specific places.
Yeah, those niche like groups. Yeah.
That's great. Awesome. Okay. How about the next group? Margie's group, is it?
Oh, yeah, Marjorie's group.
Okay. So for our assumption, we were just saying like just assumption that like people will want to stay in other people's homes and like that people aren't like regularly concerned for their safety. I mean, because we usually see that on a daily basis. And then like for our MVP, we said just mostly like focusing on a specific location at first. So like it could be like specifically in California or something like that, or maybe even thinking about how like sometimes when students go like study abroad and there's like host families, maybe like having the host families like go away and like using their house and like having people like come in and like set it up in that way.
Like for like That's also a good idea. Like you also ensure like safety for the people who are like doing it, right? Yeah, it's a great idea. Awesome. All right. How about the desk group? Mhm.
Sid, do you want to go or should I?
Yeah, so we kind of discussed the same ideas that everyone discussed, where there is the issue of whether you want to stay at a stranger's house, and
Mhm.
we also discussed whether or not rentals would be welcoming to other people staying at their house, at their place. So it kind of goes both ways.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
so yeah, that would
Mhm.
be the riskiest assumptions that they would have to make. And I guess as a minimum viable product, you could, I don't know, this would be a great idea, but you could sort of you could sort of test it at maybe say a college campus or something like that, um, where you would like connect people to um, connect students to other students' private houses, or their homes without them living in their dorm. Maybe they
Mhm.
could sort of rent a place to stay with someone else in a private certified housing or something like that. So in a
Mhm.
mini setting like that, I guess you could sort of kind
Mhm.
of experiment with the product.
Yeah.
I see. I
Oh,
see. That
okay. One
yeah.
thing, college student, that's actually so smart. Because you know, like college students, when one lease ends and they're waiting for their next lease to start, they always struggle to find somewhere to stay. Like for me, I had to like couch surf for like 15 days. So yeah, you can like target that one tiny time
Yeah.
domain.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Pierre almost became homeless
Yeah,
for a few
almost
days.
for 15 days as an experience.
Yeah. Awesome. So you guys have some great ideas, and you know what? It's almost exactly like what you guys are thinking. Assumption. Yeah. Will people even pay to live in strangers' houses at all? And then this is what they did. They have a very simple page, you know, and they the room that was available at the very beginning was actually their own room, their own house. They start with their own house, right? Like that. First of all, that would ensure, all right, at least like safety. I won't risk someone's like life right away, right? Maybe later on, but like not right away. But and then you can also they also launch it during a very big conference when no one really can find like a place to stay, or like it's all really super expensive, right? And then so they want to test out, all right, will people really actually um, prioritize like staying somewhere instead of like their safety a little bit more? So that's like what they did, a very simple landing page, and launched during a big conference, literally at their home. Yeah. And Pierre has a really great analogy for MVP. You know, like talk about it,
Oh, sure.
summarize it. Mhm.
Just for anyone who's still like not completely sure what an MVP is, basically, if you're a startup founder, let's say you're like a chef, and you just thought of a signature dish, and you're like, holy crap, this dish sounds amazing, but you just imagined it. Rather than making the whole dish from your head and then serving it to a paying customer right away, you test out every individual component of your dish first. You have your sous chefs and your kitchen monkeys test it out for you first, and make sure every piece of the dish is delicious. And if it's not, you throw it away, you change it before you
Mm,
put it all together, and you serve it to a paying customer. So that's basically what an MVP is.
exactly. That's a great way to like put it. Okay, and we'll just look at a few more examples. You guys don't have to like do case studies, but we're just gonna talk some examples. Like for example, first of all, Groupon. What they did was they also built a very simple WordPress site that people can go on. Do you guys know what Groupon is? Right? You guys know what Groupon is, right? So right now they have so many coupons on their website, right? But originally it was literally just a way for people to sign up, kind of like a Google form. People can sign up for a link, right? And then they will put together all these coupons into one PDF and then email it to all of the people who signed up for it. Yeah. So it was literally just like emailing PDFs to people. Nothing was automated. All of these things like don't scale at all. But they were testing out really great assumptions, right? And the other good example is Pebble. So Pebble designed. How many of you have heard of Pebble before? Like, they're a very famous startup, right? Yeah, exactly. Some of you guys have seen it. So Pebble, they basically design the product. They haven't even really make a working product yet, right? It was only a concept, and also just videos, right? They were the watch they were wearing. It was basically, I think, just like 3D printed or something, and then like the stuff on their screen on there, everything was like not really actually working. Yeah, so they just recorded this video and then they launch it on Kickstarter, right? And then kind of gauge, all right, will people really buy this thing, right? Will people really buy this thing, right? And they got like $10 million of funding. And then the second round of Pebble 2, they also got another $20 million just by launching on Kickstarter and validating, all right, there's a need, and the need is like huge. And the other example, this is a really great example, Amazon. Initially, Amazon was only selling books. I mean, everyone probably knows that, right? But do you guys know like Jeff Bezos was actually buying books from the bookstore? So whenever someone ordered anything on Amazon.com, right, he would call a bookstore, like order books, right, and he would go to the bookstore and pick it up and package it and send it to people, right? And he was doing the packaging. You can check out his interviews. He was like, literally every day he was packaging and all that stuff, and doing everything by himself, right? And while building the website, right? So it was literally something that's not scalable, and you doing this as the fastest way to get to the market to test it out their assumptions. So that's why I was like, yeah, why not just do it myself? I can build the entire system right away, right? So this is another great example of MVP. So yeah, you can see that from these examples, like these three famous examples, these founders are all building stuff that doesn't scale right away, right? They're building stuff to test their assumptions, test whether their solutions is actually needed, right? Or the target market is there. But these assumptions, like, what if there's like 10 million people ordering Amazon book from Amazon? Like, is Jeff Bezos gonna like ship like 10 million containers? No, of course not. So like this is only initial stage when you want to test out like your assumptions like, quickly. Yeah. So if you look at here's a very famous example of like the build, measure, and learning loop. So you build these experiments, these MVPs, right? Whether it's videos, whether it's like a very simple website, or whether it's like a very simple app, right? You build this experiment, you measure like whether, all right, people like engagement, retention, stuff like that, right? You measure these key metrics, figure out like whether your product actually solves the problem or not, and you learn from the insight. And you continuously build these experiments. Remember, MVP is part of the process. It's not the solution. It's not the end product, right? So you're keep on doing this experiment, iteration, and then you will finally build something that will have a product market fit at the end. Yeah. And so now you guys know what MVP is, and let's go into how you can plan the MVP right away. So there are a few very popular MVP methods, like the things that you've seen, for example, videos, websites. There's also make your own version of like stuff like, let's say if you're building a hardware product, you can literally just like sell, because MVP is like very basic, right? It's very simple. So it might not look good selling it in like a department store like that. So you can literally sell something like, oh, make it your own, make this solution by yourself, right? And then people might build it like through like Kickstarter stuff like that. And then there's another thing called concierge MVP. You focus on your first customers and just build solution just specific for them. So for example, like Peter's like chef example, right? You might only serve, you might want to like test out like, all right, does this food taste good for maybe people like middle class or something like that, right? And then you would just focus on serving food to these like middle class people, and then build specific stuff for this group of people, this first customer, right? Just for that customer, and figure out all the processes, like, and also like how they their thought process as well. Yeah. And the last thing is smoke test. You can just let people pre-order the product before it's even built, right? Like you can design the product and then show it to others, and people will sign up for it, right? Just like what what is it, Dropbox did. Okay, so it's very important when you're playing your MVP that you first time box your specs. Like, how much time are you planning to like spend on building this MVP? And before, like, let's say like you time box like a month of your time, right? You want to finish off the stuff before this month, right? So you have to write out all of your specs, your functionalities. You might be thinking about tons of functionalities. Like maybe you're creating a Facebook. Let's say you're creating a Facebook, and then you're thinking of all groups. I want to think about events, right? All these like other ideas. But the key thing, what is the key thing that you have to like solve right away? Maybe like adding friends, posting like a timeline, posting it on your timeline, like stuff like this. Like write down the most important thing that you have to answer and you have to build, and cut the specs. And it's very important to this is like really intuitive, right? But then oftentimes people will just like ignore this and then just like start building like their end product right away. And then it ends up in like, all right, 4 or 5 months in building a product. And then, it turns out that I built too much stuff that no one needs. Yeah. So let's do our one last like practice session. So now if you were building an online grocery service, what kind of key assumptions would you answer, and what MVP would you build after you see all these examples, and how the process of building MVP, time boxes, and then think about like the specs that you want, what kind of MVP would you build for this kind of online grocery service? Okay, let's try a breakout room for 7 minutes. There's assumptions, your idea, and what's the spec and timeline. 3 key things. That's good. All right, Pierre, you got it. Yep. Okay. Still recording?
Even a neighborhood of some sorts where you can just literally have, hey, you have a thing where you have the groceries and like what do they want, and you just go to the store and buy it and deliver to them, right? Because that's like a means of like gauging interest, because let's suppose that you do this for your first week or something, and then you have, I don't know, 5 people like that are down, and then the next week you have 3 people. That's probably like not a good sign, right? But if you have like, if you're keeping the 5 people, or if you're like getting even more people next week, that's like, okay, there is actually interest in these people are actually like enjoying. So then the next step, this is already going to the timeline, the MVP, it's like this, just having people going and buying at the store and delivering. So the thing that we talked a lot about too is just like, we need some sort of like idea and like how much would people be interested on this, because if you're doing this for free, of course the interest is going to be a lot higher than if you charge a certain price for it, right? Exactly. So that's something that you need to do with testing, maybe like after you realize that people are actually interested in having their groceries delivered. So that's some sort of a next step. And then once you like, let's suppose that you do this and everything goes right, people are actually like willing to pay some sort of money, like some amount of money that you find out, to have their groceries delivered at the door. And at that point you can like scale a little more locally, where you hire people to go and do that and like keep gauging interest in that city and see how it scales locally. And from that point, if everything works out, then you can start spreading like to like more of a, I don't know, regional and national and other things from that point, right? And like
Yeah.
that's the main idea. Like we talked about other stuff too, and like how exactly would that work when it comes to like scaling, when because you technically can't do this forever where people just go and buy. Maybe you have to do some sort of partnership with like the supermarkets, or maybe you even have your own like warehouse with products, like kind of like GoPuff. Maybe you heard of it, kind of like that. So like it's a question for later though, right? It's like way down in the timeline. But first, I think like our main thing is just taking a Jeff Bezos approach to check for interest, right?
Yeah, that's great. I like the way you think about it. Like it's a process. It's not like
right. Yeah.
something that you can like push it out right away. Okay, that's great. Okay, how about the next team?
All right, so we had several assumptions. So it's we started with what kind of groceries do people want? How often do people go for grocery shopping? How much do they get? Would they like curbside or would they like at-home delivery? And then do people want groceries from just one store or a select part of different stores, depending? And also like, are they risking quality when they are doing online grocery shopping? So our MVP, we went with the Uber Eats approach of the app, and we decided to create an app that performs just like in Uber Eats. And we started off with just to start off with, we just did the nearest store. So like nothing like far like select stores, but we just started with just one store that is closest to their house and closest to the delivery driver. And it was basic groceries like milk, fruits, vegetables, canned stuff. And we would offer two options, a delivery and curbside. And we would also do a scheduled base delivery. So like if people want just once a week, they would do, and it's like the same groceries they want to get like every week, then it would be like a schedule based delivery. So the time frame that we did was we said 3 to 6 months, which I feel like it's, now that Davi went, it's pretty long. But we went with 3 to 6 months. So in the first month we would be creating, doing basic, and then we will be doing everything on a referral basis, where it's like if one person refers it to another person and to be part of this online grocery, our app, then they get a discount on their next delivery, something like that. So we get a larger, a consumer base for our online grocery service app.
Who's going to deliver your product? Are you hiring people to deliver the groceries?
So just like Uber Eats and Uber, it's open base. So we're not like, there isn't like a background check or anything. You can, whoever wants to do, it's their own, like if they want to be self-employed people that want to become drivers, it will be just another platform, adding on to like what's already there with taxis and Uber Eats and stuff like that. Yeah.
I like the way you think about so like there you have some assumptions, right? Like do people want like multiple stores, but then you narrow it down to, okay, maybe just like the basic, the most common ingredients that people use the most often. 3 to 6 months is a bit too long. Like maybe there's like a simpler way to make it push it off.
I don't feel like it's that long for like starting an actual company, but like for the whole prototyping phase, it would be a little more difficult,
Exactly.
Yeah, after you went, I was like, yo, 3 to 6 months is not ideal length.
Honestly, like 3 to 6 months feels like kind of bad for like an MVP phase, but like it actually feels like a reasonable time to actually like start scaling and stuff. So if you count the scaling in that time, then it sounds like reasonable, right? At least in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, it totally makes sense. Yeah. So it would probably cut it down for like maybe 2 weeks. Or
maybe a lot of like the specs, right? A lot of like the functionality, it could all be cut down, and then like focus on just like one assumption or two assumptions and test it out right away.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. The next team, who is it?
It was Sid and I. So I mean, one of the main assumptions that they're making is that they're going to be successful in an already they're going to be successful penetrating into an already very saturated market of delivery services. Like Instacart has done very well already, and Shipt has done very well as well. So they're just assuming that they are going to be able to do well, even though there's already two very great viable options. And that also there's like an assumption that they're going to be able to get delivery drivers as Instacart and Shipt have done. And then with the MVP, so we were thinking we could just start out in like one neighborhood and see how it turns out, and then go from there, begin expanding.
Okay, great. I think, yeah, for this practice, it's mainly meant for, I guess I should have said this, like, assuming that those delivery service maybe might not have exist yet. I should have said that earlier because like you might start thinking about a competition and all that stuff, right? But like just assuming that if there's like nothing the case. But so you said starting with a single neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
Starting. Okay.
Actually, there's kind of like a question. I don't know, or maybe like a discussion. Like, can like an idea of like this like pop up like an MVP based on like a flaw that you see in competition in the current market? Like, let's suppose that like all these delivery services did something that was like that you think like, yo, that's kind of dumb. Why do they do that? Then you create something that's like completely different from in that point. Like it kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah. So I think that also goes back to like, if you identify the problem, if you figure out that there's like no one is like dominating the market, and then like they are not resolving the problem really well, right? The problem that the customer cares about, right? Then you can dive right into there, and then
because that's the thing. Like that's the kind of question that I was going for. It's like sometimes like the market even might be dominated by like a current thing, but then you see a flaw in like everyone that does this on the market, and you think you can like with a product like overtake it, that kind of thing. So
if your product is solving the issue that the user or customer care the most, then you might have a chance to like overtake it, like just like for Facebook, right? Yeah. Okay, awesome. How about the desk people?
So we basically had very similar ideas to the three prior groups, but I guess one of our different one was we assumed that like we're in our current situation with COVID, right? And we assumed that like another problem was that elderly people, they can't get groceries because they can't go out. So our MVP was essentially a phone dial service within a specific area where elderly people could dial and ask for, hey, I want to buy tomatoes or whatever, right? And then we would be fulfilling it ourselves. And if the phone lines ever got too crazy, just buy more phones. And then so we can write everything down.
Great idea. Okay, so I think that's, so before you don't even have to build anything yet, right? You just need like phones right there, and then you just have to let like the others know, like do some promotion, and then you can start experimenting right away. Do people really want to buy from a single store? Do they trust this, like people picking for them, right? Okay, awesome. So the actual the case we have here is Instacart, right? And what they did was like within the first 2-3 months, they built the MVP, right? And it was only an iOS app, very very simple app. Like all the backends, all the like service stuff, like they don't really care about it because like when there's an order coming in, you can't even choose from any store at all. You can only choose like the key ingredients, just like what Adam said, right? When the order comes in, they have a team who will just like send a message to the people who are buying stuff. They have a team in the store, in that one store, in a single store, right? And then they just buy stuff for the people. And then if they said like, they just list down all the ingredients that I have to buy, and then they just reply, oh, I got it. And then that's literally like how they do it. It's like as simple as this. It doesn't have to be a super complicated stuff that to validate your assumptions for your solution, right? So now, kind of like wrap up everything. Uh, Building an MVP doesn't mean that you are going to stop talking to users. It only means that like um, you will be testing your solution with users, right? But at the same time, you should continuously to talk to the potential customers, doing those kind of like market research, like primary market research interviews, getting to know more about them, the key insights, right? See if you are still like on track, right? And this is one quote from Y Combinator, one of the partners there. They said the best founders, they maintain direct connections with the users throughout the entire journey. Why? Because when you have primary market research, you get these users, you can just have them as your first group of testers, first group of users right away, right? And you can start testing with them. They are your lab rat or something like that. You can like, test out your experiments right away, right? So that's why continuous talking to users is very important. All right, Q&A. That's kind of it for workshop.
I guess one thing to add about the previous slide is the term that people in the startup world use for lab rats are your evangelists. Basically, a small group of people within your target market that really, really love your product. So you treat them really well and they treat you very well. They're basically
Yeah.
like ambassadors for your product. They spread the word by word of mouth.
Yeah.
They like your product so much you can test, like do beta tests on them without really caring much about your product like breaking or stuff. So you treat them well and they treat you well. And that's like a very common marketing tactic that startups use. So basically lab rats, but they're called
Yeah.
evangelists, just to be nicer to them,
Yeah. Well, I treat my lab rat really well. So yeah, that'll be all right. But yeah, that's kind of it. Any kind of questions on MVP process or anything?
I actually had a question it's not related to this, but it's about the hackathon.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just wondering, is everyone supposed to register for it? And also, are we supposed to say something specific in our application to let them know? Like, is it like a 0-1? Like, how does that, is it just like separate to 0-1 or how does that work?
Oh yeah, so that's hosted by founders. So they have the uh, so everyone. So we encourage basically originally like just encourage everyone to do it, but now we just like require only the people who are doing the join us cohort to do it, because this will be a great chance for you to launch your product right away, because we have been learning all this stuff, right? And if you really don't put it to use, implement it right away, like you'll just forget about it, or you just like it's very likely that these concepts really don't really like doesn't make sense sometimes. Yeah. So maybe really implement it, testing it out by yourself. This is a good opportunity. Yeah. And hackathons. So well, what we said hackathon is basically means we're gonna create a Discord. Maybe in case like you if you don't get into startup 54, or cases like that, we'll form, or you don't have an idea. You don't have like an idea yet. Like we will, like the next upcoming week, we're gonna help you form teams. Help you like group together, and then um, just hackathon is basically just like Discord. So everyone's gonna be online, working together. If you need any help and stuff, just yeah.
So to wrap up what Johnny just said in a very concise way, I guess right after this boot camp, we have a 1 week period where our goal is to try to accelerate the ideation and team formation process. And to do that, we're basically gonna have everyone like come together, work on their ideas if they have any. And it just so happens that there's this event called 54 that Founders is hosting, and it's a pretty good event. So we encourage you guys to apply for it. Basically, the event, um, it's like basically a competition. It's 54 hours to come up with an idea, gain as much traction as you can, do as much like market research, prototype if you can, and at the end there's like a pitching session where you can win prizes. But at the same time, if you don't want to do 54 or if you don't get in, then we're also just going to be working together through Zero2One as a whole. Everything's online anyways, so we're probably just going to have a Discord server up and everyone can like work together.
Yeah.
And we're going to have our own pitching event at the end of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that clear?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really great opportunity. Like they have a lot of like resources. For example, like right now we have they have around like 10 or 15 advisors who have their time throughout the entire hackathon. Startup 54 startup weekend. Yeah, so this is a great chance to like just utilize like leverage the resources. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. I guess we can move on to next steps. Yeah. Oh, you got a question.
Yeah, wait, I have two questions
Oh wait,
first.
sorry, really quick. Let's go through the next steps first because we're already over time. And then if you have questions, you can stay after.
Okay.
Johnny, you want to go over the next
Yeah,
step?
that's great. That's great. Okay. So yeah, feedback for workshop 3. We really read your feedback and try to like improve it like the next one like right away. So please fill out the feedback form, and then so we can know like how we can make it better. And then I think the next workshop is going to be on Thursday. Our marketing team, our directors, is going to share about startup like marketing and branding. And this is one thing that we hope you guys can try out is to have a coffee chat with prospective members, new members, and also our Zero2One old members, boomers as well. Like try to understand maybe what product are we building or what our teams doing, right? What are they learning right now? Stuff like that. Really easy coffee chat. Push you to like step off like your comfort zone, right? And network. And the last thing, Start 50 weekend, that application is due October 2nd. So just be sure to apply before that. That's it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh my God.
All right.
Oh my God.
Yeah, thanks everybody. If you have any questions, you can stay after.
Yeah. So like what we had before, you guys, some of you guys have probably have already posted the questions already, but we're just gonna like have you guys maybe 3 or 4 people per room just group together and share the problem that you observed. Yeah, push your creativity and stuff about that. Okay, sounds good. All right, Peter, could you create breakout rooms? So you can stay as long as you want in the breakout rooms or chat as long as you want. Just get to know each other and then share your ideas.
Actually, should we just do it here? Because we only have 3, 4, 5, 7
Oh,
people.
most people can do it. Okay.
Yeah, we can just do it as like one group.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah.
Can
Want to start? All right, Ty, you want to go?
well, I want to ask a question because I have to meet with my Zero2One group about creating a video, so I have to get off as soon as possible. But I wanted to ask a question about the previous slide. Should I just email you?
You mean regarding the so is it related to the exact team?
Related to what?
The executive team, like 021.
Yeah. I mean, it was like,
Yeah.
what exactly is a Zero2One boomer? Is that like just all the ones?
Yeah, that's the older members. That's basically it. Yeah.
Okay.
You can email me if you about like the marketing stuff. Like,
okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll
do that then. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. All right. So you guys want to share your ideas? 3 problems that you observed.
Yeah, I can go. So for me, one of the biggest problems I've observed is related to mental health. So there's a lot of talk about I feel like there are a lot of startups specifically aimed at helping people struggling with mental health, but there's not a lot. I feel like there's a big need to educate people who are not struggling with mental health, but maybe who can be support systems. I feel like a lot of the problems that happen, like if people were educated on how to be good support systems to people who struggle with mental health, I feel like that would solve a lot, like incorporating it into the school curriculum, stuff like that. Another big thing was with Zoom online learning. I have a really good professor actually for Business 201, and she's the only professor out of all my professors who actually makes her classes engaging. So I feel like the biggest thing that's lacking in online education is versatility. So that lecture style format, I think, just doesn't work online. So I feel like there needs to be like this, yeah, like a big change in like engagement. And yeah, and even with online learning, also I know low income students are impacted pretty badly by it. And also, I guess, like in terms of socials, I think it would be cool if you had like a centralized, like, I don't know, like a website that conducted different kinds, where you could conduct like different kinds of online socials, not just scribble.io. But yeah, I said a few, but I'll let someone else talk now. Yeah, those are just a few.
Yeah, I think the first one is like a really big one, especially like across campus. Like that, like mental health is actually a huge issue, and that was actually the first problem that Jean, the other co-director, and I was like tackling. How can we, provide these like resources to like existing like students, right? And there are, yeah, I mean, there are many different tools already, but the problem is like it's more about spreading the awareness, like what some of the organization on campus is like doing. Like Marjorie is like in some of them, like I forget what's the name of it.
Wait, for which one?
The mental health one. Like there's one.
Oh, Active Minds.
Active Mind, yeah, that's
yeah. There's like a couple though. Like there's like UA Tsunami and like like different ones you can join. So
exactly.
there's definitely, and then there's also like the undergraduate like psychology association. I don't know if you're in that or not.
Yeah, but the problem is like oftentimes like many undergrads like I said, like they don't know about it, or they don't have the proper training to.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes there's like not even that they know, like that such resources exist, you just don't like. Usually you just don't know that like you're in a situation where you need them, It's
also,
like
McKinley is ass. Like it's super bad. I know someone, like obviously I'm not naming people, but I have friends who struggle with their mental health, and getting like a counselor and scheduling appointments are actually traumatic. Like the amount of the wait period and stuff. And also another specific thing is sometimes when it comes to like specific cultures, like for example, like in South Asian culture, there's some things that the people working in McKinley are not equipped to deal. Like they also need education on cultural specific, like
that's true.
Everyone, so like people feel really misunderstood when they're like, for example, like I don't know, like an Indian goes in and then there's a person who maybe doesn't understand like those unique things. So I personally know people who struggle with that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like actually like somewhat of a big issue too, because there's like, I don't know, I feel like even in like especially in college culture, there's a lot of stigma in like taking care against your mental health. It's like people are like, oh yeah, it's supposed to be stressful, it's supposed to be painful, and that's how it works. And it's like, no, not really. People just make it stressful for no reason. That's like that's how it usually goes. It's kind of strange. It that's just like that's one of the issues that I tackled. Like people make the environment of like college and like just the whole thing. I did my all three of my problems were kind of focusing in college. Like people just make the environment so much more like stressful than it is, because like okay, personal anecdote time bet. Uh, so like last year I was like having like a lot of stress because of like in the whole internship thing, and like it like if I don't get an internship, my life is ruined, kind of thing. Like I bet a lot of the fellow engineers went through that too. And then like I don't know, like it turns out I didn't get one over the summer, and like I'm still living, I'm still here, and it's like, oh wait, it wasn't that big of a deal. People just make it like so much more stressful than it needs to be, and like you're not gonna fail your life for this whole thing. It's just like I don't know, the way that people spread stuff is just interesting, and kind of bad, honestly. That's it.
Like there's like, I think there's just like improper like not enough like training or preparation for these like kids, like, or not say kids, like college students. So we come in from a family, from a home, and to an entire different environment, and now we have to handle everything right away, right? And then there's a lot of like stress and like stuff that's like built up, but it really is a huge issue. Okay. Anyone want to like share their question they observed?
I guess it's related to what Davi was saying about the whole like he was stressing about like internships. I'm just a freshman, so like I haven't really got into like the grunt of it, but like I just found the whole process to be so stupid because like some of the places like they even give you like cover letter formats for you to write as if it's like they only do this as like a formality, it doesn't really mean anything, and I found that so stupid. And also like your resume should be a certain format. Like, why does that even matter? Shouldn't it be like a meritocracy? You have to prove your worth, not just through, how you write a stupid resume or cover letter.
That's true. Yeah. Like sometimes like resume, like sometimes the recruiters don't even care about the resume actually. Like they just like, what I heard like from some friends who are recruiters there, they said they only spend like 6 seconds per resume sometimes, just like all right, next one like that. And then it's like right now recruiting is actually a huge issue that many people are tackling right now, like how to make the process better, how to make it faster, how to save time from it. And this is actually since there's like big money in this, like you can save a ton of money from this, like for companies. You can find a tons of like this kind of like recruitment startups right now, and I'm not sure if there's any like startups like really dominating the space, right now. Okay. Wait, what did I just see? What did it say? Oh my god.
Yeah, just a small detour. The chat, it's going nice.
Let's go.
Actually, it's like super fucking funny because people like are talking about something really serious and the stupidest shit's going on in the chat.
Oh my god.
I can't hold a straight face at all. Wait, I'm actually like, how tall is that? I mean, no, I'm actually like, I have
How
this
tall is
thing-
Johnny? How
I have
tall is
this
Johnny?
fear-
That's an issue for my list. That's
this
an
unfound fear that everyone seems like really tall or like short on camera, but when I see them, it's gonna be so freaking weird.
I thought
I'm sure that's appreciated.
when I saw him in person, he's pretty tall.
Yeah.
Wait, Johnny, how tall are you?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, in the six.
yeah, like 4'11", right? 4'11", like Marjorie said.
4'11".
Yeah, I'm actually pretty short.
Don't worry, I'm 5, so don't worry.
Just kidding. Yeah, I'm 5'8". 5'8". You can kind of like imagine, right? Pierre is taller than you.
Like on Zoom, you can either zoom in or move back to make
Yeah,
yourself
height.
taller.
Yeah.
I'm 5'5".
Oh, Pierre, you're 5'5". So
I just
you
like
shrink
to be tall because my aura is very
menacing.
aura.
I see.
I see. Makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Anyone want to share their idea? The problem they observed?
Well, I just talked about like economic inequality and like forgetfulness and like a lack of communication or like miscommunication. And I was just saying how like in the US we put like all this money into like the military and like the police force and everything, when like we can be taking that same money and like putting it back into like communities like in poverty and like making sure everyone gets like a well-rounded education and like stuff like that. Like I just feel like the US is like not, sorry my stuff fell, but the US is just like not using the money well and stuff like that. And then I was just saying for like communication, like there's like a lot of lack of communication, you know, like we failed like to build up like positive relationships with other people, or like we miss opportunities and like stuff like that. And I was talking about it like in terms of business as well. Like it's good to have like good communications with like our employees and like customers, because we don't want like dissatisfied employees or customers. And like forgetfulness, like I just kind of thought of it in the beginning because I was just like, I always like tell my mom like, oh, can you get this from the store for me? But then like she'll forget